Hi, I'm Dr. Stephanie Jeffries. Welcome to another episode of Conversations That Heal podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Amanda. Amanda has done so much work around shadow work and Reiki, and now she wants to offer people the opportunity to heal themselves the way that she's had the ability to heal herself. I believe that no one could tell someone's story better than they can. So, with that, Amanda,
Hi,
hi,
I
how are you?
am happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I know you have had a lot of experiences you've had to heal from. Feel free to start wherever you're comfortable.
I'll try to keep it as concise as possible. I'll give you a little bit of background. What kind of triggered a lot of this was just my growing up. I came from a household with a narcissistic mother and then a very loving father, but just more so emotionally distant. I have three older brothers and a little sister. We don't really have a close relationship just because we never really learned how to love other people in a sense. Growing up, I always had the mindset of, I don't like where I am. I don't like how this makes me feel. I'm going to grow up and do whatever it takes to get out of this and get as far away as I can from all of it. That's what my mindset was growing up. From there, I went to college. I was a psychology and criminology major. When I took my abnormal psychology class, that's where we talk about all the different mental health disorders. And I pulled out the DSM and was just like flipping through it, and I got to the section about signs of depression and anxiety, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, check, check, check. So I've been depressed for ever. And I'm like, so this is what it is. This is what's been happening with me. From there, I was like, what do I even do with that information? I went to Penn State and they have 5 sessions to talk to a counselor. Those aren't really situations where you can really get in depth with anything. They're more so conversations of how to deal with school stress. Not helpful whatsoever. Graduated and then moved to Austin October of 2017. I just wanted that new experience. I grew up in a very
Mhm.
small town, and like I mentioned before, how quickly can I get as far away from this area and start a life of my own? And so moved there. One of my friends from college came down with me, and the dog I had since I was 10 years old, the three of us formed a little gang in Austin. Unfortunately, about 4 or 5 months into it, my dog passed. That was really hard because I
Yes.
got him when I was 10 and he was really my crutch. He was my best friend. He's the only thing that I felt like I truly knew how to love, and
Okay.
that I truly knew loved me and was there for me, provided me that emotional support that no one else was able to. So took it a little hard. And on top of that, this is my first time on my own out of college, trying to create a life for myself in a big city. I came from a
Mhm.
high school where there are 800 people total in my class. So I'm, oh my God, excited for life. It's beautiful. Let me do all of the things and experience everything. Meanwhile, I'm hiding the fact that I'm still depressed and grieving, drowning that in alcohol. That's when I started smoking weed a lot more. As things moved along, my depression got a lot worse. Every
Okay.
depressive episode that I had was deeper and longer than the one before. It got to the point, I would say 2021, I completely isolated myself from the world. The only time I had social interaction was to go to work. And that's it. And I didn't want to be around people. It was exhausting just to walk 10 feet to my apartment complex's dog park. That's
Right.
how bad it was. I had started seeing a therapist really consistently around 2020, 2021. Things didn't really feel like they were getting better, but I was like, all right, I'm still going to come. I'm still going to do the
Right.
work just to say that I've done
Done
everything.
the
I don't know what kept me going, but I did. And around 2022, again, I whipped out my DSM-5 because I struggled with depression and anxiety. I'm flipping through and I get to the personalities disorder section
Mhm.
and I get to bipolar disorder. Again,
Right.
it was that moment of checking every box
Yeah.
there. I was like, man, I think I'm bipolar. I take that to my next therapy session. I think I'm bipolar. She's like, I don't think it's that. I think it just might be ADHD. I was like, okay, you're the professional. Sure, we'll go with
Right.
that. Well, what do we do now? Then
Right.
6 months later, she comes back and she's like, "I think you're bipolar." I didn't say this in the
Yes.
session, but in my head, I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I
Yeah.
brought this up 6 months ago, and you throw
Right.
this out like this was your grand idea."
But you know what? And we're just going to go back briefly. One of the things that you said is you grew up with a narcissistic mom and an amazing dad, but he was emotionally unavailable. You guys never really learned how to love another human being. You have this dog that has been your everything. It dies, and you're in a new city.
Mhm.
You start to do whatever you can to just hide the fact you're really hurting. The reality is, there's so many people doing that. I'm a psychology major. The first thing we do, grab a DSM, we're like,
Yeah.
yep, that's me. That's me. When you do that, it actually makes you want to find
Mhm.
a cure for yourself. That's not how you want to be. People don't understand. You don't want to be all over the place. You don't want to feel misunderstood. You don't want to be in these depressive episodes. You don't want to have anxiety. You don't want to have all these things. But it's a part of it. You're not diagnosing yourself to give yourself a label so
Right.
that you can have an excuse for your behavior. A lot of people think that a label is an excuse for your behavior. No, like
Exactly.
you understanding that helps you understand I'm not crazy. This is
Right.
actually what is wrong with me. Now I can find the things I need to do to heal that. Now
Mhm.
your therapist says you are bipolar.
And so she's like, "Let's start taking medications." That was a whole battle for me because I had taken depressive medications for my depression and none of them ever worked. And I was like, "I've already tried all that. I'm not doing it because it doesn't help. You know what does help? Weed. It's getting me through all of this. I'm going to keep doing what's working." When in reality,
Yes.
it's still going on. So is it actually helping?
It helps in the moment
Yeah,
for a
it
minute.
helps you
Right.
suppress things a little bit
Right.
longer. Even through all of that, I know my relationship with weed isn't okay, but we'll address that issue when we address all the other stuff.
What people don't understand, you're not going to take away what is working to give me something that we don't know whether it's going to work. I don't advocate or talk against weed. It has proven to work for a lot of things. That's
Yeah,
why medical marijuana is a thing. You're not going to pump me with pills
right.
when we don't know how they're going to adversely affect me when I can keep doing what's working.
Exactly. One of my other arguments were, I don't wanna be dependent on some type of medication, meanwhile, I'm dependent on weed. Weed was helping, and it does have its medicinal properties. Just
Mhm.
like anything else, you can abuse it, and that's what I was doing, but just didn't wanna address it. It was working for me. The reason it helped so much was because I enjoy just like a casual high and just relax.
Mhm. Right.
But when you're in a manic episode, your head is spinning 24/7, firing at all different angles. I would have these like huge creative moments. I would think that I could take on everything in the world. And then you would have your depressive thoughts mixed in there where I literally want to crawl into a hole and die to quiet all of my thoughts just so I could have a moment of peace. Weed shuts my brain up. It helps me
Right.
get to a level of it's turned off. I don't always have to be on. In those
Right.
depressive moments, I just want to feel something. So it's
Right.
let me just get high, sit on my couch, turn on Bravo and
Mhm.
laugh. And then it got to the point where I was high all day, every day, to the point where you were never at that high point.
Right.
I was more so just maintaining a nice buzz. That's
Right.
also how you know it's the problem if it's just like a buzz and that's as far
Right.
as it gets you. Um, from there, I finally did give in and I was, I'll try medication. I don't know what inside me was like, let's just keep going, but there was that part of me that did it. Then we found something that has helped maintain things. I got more of a handle on everything.
Okay.
In 2023, I had been in Austin for about 5 years or so. Get Nancy. So what's next? I do love being here, but where else can I go? Let's see what else is out here in the world. There's
Right.
so much. I decided, let me pack up my car and just drive around to different cities to see if I vibe with any of them. My plan
Right.
that year was to spend about 3 months in Denver, 3 months in Portland, just have a nice time driving down the Pacific Coast
Right.
Highway. Part of that was because I was in a bit of a manic episode and you're going through things and you're like, life is so great. Nothing can stop me. Nothing can hurt me. We're having
Right.
all of these new experiences. And I was making choices based off of toxic positivity and manifestation, but not understanding how to properly manifest in a sense. That's the time when I also got into tarot. This was the beginning of my spiritual journey and my spiritual
Okay.
awakening. I started reading tarot for myself and I was in that mindset of, I don't know, is this stuff really real?
Right.
Whenever I did a reading for myself, I read the meaning of the cards and real or not, that's resonating with me and I'm
Right.
able to make some changes and I'm seeing what's coming up from the inside. And I was like, "I'm just gonna keep going because it's a new
Okay.
way that works." Being in Denver and having the relationship I did with weed maybe wasn't the best combination of things
Right.
in Austin. I had a source and a supply opposed to I'm walking around the corner and there's a dispensary. This stuff is a lot better. There's more variety. Donor heaven is really what happened.
Right.
Without even realizing all of my money was really going there. And by April, I got furloughed. Still wasn't managing my money wisely. I was still buying weed. I was still in the mindset of, we're in a new place. I'm not going to turn down experiences. And those things do cost money. And that toxic positivity, all of this will come to me if I keep a positive mindset. What I learned is you still got to do the work to get those
Right.
things.
I think what's important about what you just said, the term toxic positivity
Mhm.
is a strong one. I think that people are in this place where I can just manifest the life I want and it'll come to me. I'm not saying that manifestation doesn't work. I'm not saying that if you sit in a space and you're meditating,
Mhm.
you're thinking about the day when you're on a stage and people are listening to you talk, the day where you're imagining yourself debt free. I'm not saying that cannot happen because
Right.
it has been shown that neurologically, if you feel it and you feel what it feels like, it'll happen. We've heard so many people say, no, I knew this day would come.
Mhm.
We've heard that, but I do think that people often forget the work that goes behind that and
Exactly.
making until that life shows up. You're in Denver, weed is very accessible in Denver, but
Life is beautiful.
when do you discover Reiki?
Few months later, I'm in the process of writing a book, and where that came from was that April. I was looking at getting a new therapist because we talked about doing EMDR, and my current one didn't.
Mhm.
I don't feel like retelling my story to another person and spending 5 sessions on that before we even dive into it. I was like, let me just write like an overview of all of that, give it to them, and they can catch up to everything. It turned into like 100 pages of things. I started doing that, and then I had the crash. The mania wore off, and life in general just went along with it. I ran out of my money, went into this deep depressive episode. I ended up having to move in with my sister for a few months back home.
Right,
The funny thing about that was I hadn't been home since I had moved to Austin. So that's the root of all my childhood trauma. I remember once I got there, I had this huge panic attack because all of that energy just hit me at one time. I planned for that panic attack. Everything's terrible. I'm at a bad place. The only thing keeping me alive is the dog that I have now because I was like, I can't abandon you. No one's going to love you the way I do. So that's
right.
not fair to you. He was the only thing keeping me alive and keeping me going. I was reading a lot of self help, self development books, one of them being Letting Go.
Okay,
And that was super helpful for me because it helped me change my mindset. The full title is Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender. It was one of those things that taught me you can give these things power, your trauma and all of that power, but you can also just let it go. Learn how to surrender to that and learn how to process it, accept it, and then move on. The word surrender was had a negative connotation. It was,
Right.
am I giving up and saying this happened? That's not the definition of it. It doesn't have that power. I'm letting go of that
Mhm.
power. That's one of the books that helped. Through that, I started exercising, eating better, and taking care of my mind. Where the Reiki part comes in is I got a Y membership and they do all sorts of classes. They had a mindfulness class at the end of each session. They would do Reiki. I had no idea what it was. They did some Reiki on me, and I don't know what happened, but I feel great. I feel level-headed. I feel wonderful. I feel beautiful, and not in a, "I'm gonna go get toxic positivity my way through."
Right. Not in the way that you were accustomed to feeling great. This was a new way that didn't involve a temporary thing. The effect of
Yeah.
this is lasting longer than I thought that it would, type of way.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I'm doing work outside of it to really integrate all of it. Reiki didn't solve my problems or isn't the source of healing through it. It was an in addition supporting part of what I
Right.
was doing on my own. It's also important to know that I ran out of money, so I couldn't buy weed. It was
Right.
a forced detox on top of that.
Right.
That helped me learn that I didn't need weed to help me
We
get to
mhm.
these places. It was a blessing that I didn't even know was happening.
What we don't understand is that when we have gone through trauma of any sort, even when our mind releases the trauma, our body does not. That's why they have trauma, yoga, Reiki, all these different things. We hold trauma in our hips, in your back. Sometimes it can be held in your shoulder. It's so many different ways that your body stores traumas. Even when you do the mental work, you have to begin to do the physical work to release it.
I was prone to migraine. But one day I realized that I don't know the last time I had a migraine. I also carry a lot of that in my shoulder area. I actually have tendinitis in my right shoulder from just
Mhm.
sports, but it never got released. My shoulder pain doesn't hurt either. My body feels good. Being able to integrate all of those things. What was nice about reading Letting Go is I am a super planner. I have to have deadlines for anything. Typically, if I was put in that situation of moving in with my sister and trying to get back to Austin, I typically would have been, I have X amount of months to reach that goal. I can
Mhm.
get out of here. Reading Letting Go just helped me realize I don't have to set that plan. I can allow life to happen and unfold the way it needs to unfold. And it did. I was like, based on these circumstances, I could be here for 5 years.
Mhm.
And that's okay. However, the universe did its thing. By November, I got a message on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, I see were a recruiter. Want a job?" It was fully remote and a lot better than the salary that I have from working at the front desk of a hotel. By December, I had enough cushion to get me back to Austin. That kept speeding things up and helping me with my spirit journey. That March, I met a shadow work coach and I worked with
Mm.
her a couple of times. I didn't really know what your shadow was. I started to learn that your shadow self is really just all those parts of you that you have deemed bad or ugly, or
Mhm.
parts of you that you don't want to express to the world. The fear of people won't love me, people won't accept
Yeah.
me if I portray myself like that. Rewiring your brain to say, these aren't bad parts, these are actually good parts. When we
Mhm.
dig into that and get to know them, we can learn how to integrate them without them coming out in ways of just being hurt, whether that's out of anger or just imposter syndrome and things of that
Mhm.
nature. You can turn their negative feelings into positive feelings.
I just read Viola Davis's book, Finding Me,
Mhm.
and if you have not, it is amazing. She was
Yeah.
talking about the child within, how she had been so eager to protect this child and her 8-year-old self, because she remembers that's where a lot of her pain
Mhm. Yeah.
originated. I think that we often forget that part of us. We don't give that part of us enough credit, as that part of us helped us make it out of that situation to be who we are now. If you think about the fact that the child in you positioned you so that the teenager could exist, and the teenager survived so the young adult could exist. It's just something that goes on. I think that's where shadow work has been the most powerful.
digging into those shadows. Where did those thoughts and beliefs come from?
Mhm.
Introduced me to my inner children. I've discovered the 6-year-old version,
Mhm.
middle school version, high school
Mhm.
version, and then even the young adult me from that college to like mid-20s age. I call them like Amanda 1.0, 2.0. Now I'm
Yes,
Amanda
yes, yes.
5.0. Learning not even the fact that they've propelled each other to protect that next version, they're also doing things to protect that younger version too. I found
Mm.
out that the high school version of me is super overprotective of my 6-year-old self. They
Mm.
do whatever they can so they don't feel hurt when things are happening. Just digging into that and learning that and having conversations with myself has really made such an impact and a difference. Whenever I find myself in situations where my imposter syndrome wants to come out, or I feel like I'm not loved or I'm not worthy of love or anything like that, I'm like, so where is that coming from? Honestly, this whole learning process is learning how to love yourself unconditionally.
Mhm.
That's been super powerful for me. I'm at the point where I do love myself, but
Right.
there are also still parts of myself I'm trying to accept. I know I want to have unconditional love. We're almost there.
Learning that is where you are and that is okay to be in
Yeah.
that place. That is a part of the surrender.
Mhm.
Surrendering why it may be taking me longer than I would have wanted to get to this
Yeah.
unconditional place. Getting to this unconditional place, you don't want that to be temporary. So as
Exactly.
long as it takes for me to get there and this be a permanent
Mhm.
love that I have for myself, I'll allow it to take as long as it needs to. I don't want to love myself temporarily anymore. I don't want to love parts of me and then not love the whole me. So when I get there, it'll be what it needs to be. One of the things my therapist told me that will forever resonate with me. I said, I'm trying to become the best version of myself. She says, listen, you can be the best version of yourself right now while still working on the next version. Because right now you are who you need. And we have to give ourselves credit for being what we need. Like you said, this Stephanie is fiercely overprotective of
Mhm.
the 30-year-old me. I'm 47. Is
Yeah.
protective of the me that didn't know how to set boundaries. Listen, the 47-year-old
Mhm.
version reminds the 43-year-old version what that pain really felt like. A lot of times, different versions of ourselves remember, oh, it wasn't that bad. And the 47-year-old says, no, ma'am, it was that bad. It was
Yeah.
those scars, maybe they've healed and maybe it doesn't feel the way it did, but no, ma'am, it was
Mhm.
bad. You almost didn't make it.
You don't have to
It
downplay it. Accept
yeah,
it, express it, and
yeah,
talk about it because
yeah,
it's releasing it that helps. Keeping it bottled in only makes it worse.
a lot worse. One of the things that we talked about in our pre-interview, we talked about false narratives. What is the importance of breaking those?
Yeah, being able to break those false narratives is that process of finding that love for yourself. So, for example, one of the big things that I'm learning is how to form relationships. I never really truly learned what it's like to love someone, and I also never learned how to let someone love me. At a point, I was thinking maybe I don't deserve to have that for some reason. I've built a lot of different walls because what I learned was anytime I let someone get close to me, they leave. Having the mom that I had, that was one of the reasons why I was like, if this is what love is supposed to look like, I don't want that. I don't need
Yes,
that. That's
yes.
destroying me. With my parents, my dad cheated on my mom. That was another thing. I never saw what a healthy relationship looked like. And with that divorce, I did love my dad, but I was
Mhm.
so hurt by him. The people that love you are the ones that can hurt you the most. So why would I let that in? Letting go of that false narrative of I am worthy of love. Not everyone is there to hurt me. It's one of those things where I can't allow someone to love me if I don't love myself first. That's when I started to dig into that. Imposter syndrome is one of the other things I've been working on. One of the things that was ingrained into me, my mom is pretty religious. I was told that she prayed for everything that I am and who I am. So all my successes were because of her prayers, not because of any of the work I did, not because of my effort, but because she prayed for it. In my head, I'm like, Am I really here because of me? Yes, you put in the work. You are the reason you are
Mhm,
no one can take that away from you. You are great. You are amazing. Like, saying those
mhm.
things doesn't mean you're a narcissist or you have this big ego. You are great. You are
Yeah,
wonderful. Even starting this business, sometimes I'm at the point where, who am I to even be able to do this? You're able to do this because you have the experience and you don't need the schooling or the degree to be able to help people. You can just
right.
help people through your experience. And that's what's powerful. With Reiki, I'll work on someone and someone will say, "This was amazing. Thank you so much." And I'm like, did I really do anything? Was that me? Didn't learn how to accept compliments or praise. It felt uncomfortable to me. I
Right.
don't really know why. I was like, you know what? They're right. I am good. I am great.
Our childhood experiences challenge us in adulthood more than we would ever want to admit. So I will go on record right now to tell you that you are here because of the divine grace and the divine peace that you have. Prayers of other people, they work, but you have to do something to get
Mhm.
to this place. You
Yeah.
have to have an active part in
Mhm.
where you are, because I don't care how much you pray, God still gives you choices. So if
Right.
you would have made a choice to not take the job, if you would have made the choice to stay at the front desk, then you would have still been there. Your success is because there's been a purpose for your life since the day you were born. Right now, you are in a beautiful space where you want to be to people what you needed. You
Yeah.
want to give people what you found that works. The funny part about it is, yes, it's a business. Yes, you're going to get paid for it. We're not doing no freebies and no pro bono.
Right.
So don't jump in her
Exactly.
inbox. The thing is, you could do it for free, because just the enjoyment of somebody saying that work, I'm so blessed. Thank you so much. Or, God, you have no idea how much this has helped me. The
Right.
classes that you took, it wasn't by chance. No one
Mhm.
was in class with you doing the work, right?
Exactly.
So listen, you are as amazing as you think you are. You are as phenomenal as you think you are. I am proud in this moment to hear how far you have come, and I'm excited about how far you're going to go. You could have given up at any time, and you opted not to.
Mhm.
You have so many reasons to throw in the towel and say, this isn't working. But like you said, I just kept going. So if nothing else, if someone hears from this podcast, they will know I'm sitting in therapy and I don't think it's working. Just keep going,
Yeah.
because there, you may find a silver lining.
Thank you. I appreciate all of
Yeah,
that, and
you're welcome.
I'm accepting it.
Yeah, I'm not resisting it. Listen, there's not a catch. There's not, oh my God, you want something from me. That's another part of being able to accept who you are and the
Yeah.
things that you've gone through and the beautiful place that you are in now.
Mhm.
You mentioned healing is hard, but it's worth it. One of the things you say, you are not your diagnosis. We know that you diagnose yourself as depressed. You diagnose yourself as
Yeah.
bipolar. You've done a lot of diagnosing. There may be someone that just went to therapy and they've gotten a diagnosis. What can you say to them that can move them from that space?
What I've realized is, as a society, we have to put labels on things in order to understand them. I am not bipolar. I have traits and things that trigger different parts, feelings of unworthiness or feelings of being unloved. That's what we contribute to being depressed. I'm not those things again. Those
Right.
are just labels that I gave myself to understand that, and I'm more than that. When I look at it, those are just symptoms of things that I haven't processed yet. That doesn't make me the medical definition of something. I refuse to be labeled by someone else or even myself since I
Yes.
gave the diagnosis. I'm just someone who was hurt. Now
Mhm.
I'm letting that hurt and anger out so I don't have to feel those things that lead to those labels. I want people to realize they aren't those things. They just need to get in touch with themselves so they can work through all of the things that lead up to that diagnosis. You're more than a word.
To understand that for
Mhm.
yourself is one of the most amazing things that we can do, is understanding that for ourselves and understanding that we have to give ourselves grace. And we have to show ourselves more compassion than we're used to showing
Yeah.
ourselves because we're harder on ourselves. But
Mhm.
no one tells you how to get over the pain you've experienced. They will label you. People like to label you and tell you to get over it. That's not how it works. I can get over it. I will get over it, but I have to give myself the grace and the compassion to move through it so I can get to the other side of it. So I now understand where I am, why I operate the way I do. Understanding your past allows you to move into your future with grace, compassion, and
Yeah.
love that you didn't know that you could even have for
Mhm.
yourself. One of the most profound things I think you said is you didn't understand how to love yourself, so you
Mhm.
wasn't able to love someone else, nor were you able to receive love. I think that if we look in society today, it's not even that we're trying to diagnose
Yeah.
anybody. I see a lot of people who have no idea what love is, and they're
Mhm.
trying to find it in every little thing. They're trying to find it in their hair, in their body, in their
Mhm.
clothes, in their appearance, in their jobs. The sad part is you can trick everyone else,
Mhm.
but you cannot hide the unworthiness you feel when you look in the mirror if you have not done the work.
That's the beauty that I found in this healing process. It's one of those things that gets worse before it gets better. That's why
Mhm.
you need to keep going because your body, you become so used to and comfortable with pain and with hurt. So when things start to feel nice, you're just like, This is weird. What's happening? Why do I
Mhm.
feel warm and fuzzy inside? This isn't okay." Accepting that uncomfortability, learning that the other shoe isn't gonna drop. That's been one of the most powerful things for me is because that was my mindset. I'm like, too many good things are happening right now. When are things
Right.
gonna blow up in my face?
Right.
And
Right.
for a couple of times, I was able to identify a manic depressive
Mhm.
cycle that you can go through.
Right.
Typically, every October, that time frame, I would go into a depressive episode. January, I go into a manic episode. When those times would come, I'd get nervous. I've done a lot of work, but is that stuff just gonna happen just because it does happen
Right.
every year? Those things didn't because I
Mm.
didn't let those things happen. It was part of that healing process where I was, no, those things don't have power over me. I am not those things. I just kept moving through them. And that was another powerful thing that's helped me through this process.
I know that right now you are a Reiki coach and you're a shadow work coach. For someone who wants to do Reiki or get into shadow work, how can someone find you?
I have my website up. It's Aiko and the and is spelled out and okami.com. You're able to book a session with me. I always do an initial consultation so you can understand the process I use. See if this is even the right thing for you. I'm able to use Reiki within my shadow work coaching. When I work with someone, I'll do a Reiki session with them. That helps them get to a place of relaxation, helps them get to that vulnerable place with their self. So that inner child feels comfortable coming out and speaking up. Some people, they've already met their inner child. For some people, that's a completely new concept for them.
Right.
So they're like, what is this voice talking to me right now? That's your inner child. Have the conversation. That's the beauty about being able to integrate both of them together.
Are you on social media?
Yes, social media is a very fresh thing for me. I got
Okay.
off of social media for a few years. I have an Instagram that's also at Aiko and Akami. You can find me there. There's not much content. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I haven't learned to be comfortable being the center of attention. I don't like drawing attention to myself. I have a fear that people might be judging me. I might be
Mhm.
that annoying person on Instagram, and it's like, they don't have to follow you.
You
Like
can just scroll. I need people to understand. I
yeah.
am very confrontational. If I catch you in her comments making unkind comments, I have no problem addressing it. She may not be confrontational. Out with that. Okay.
I
So
love that.
let's just put that out there. I have no problem checking comments and checking folks,
I
okay,
love it. I
about
have
being
an
in her
advocate.
comments.
I love it.
This interview has been amazing. I definitely know that you have a book coming out. Once you're ready to talk about it, once you're ready to put it out there,
Yeah.
I will Definitely, we could do another interview around the book. I know you have some great things happening in your life. What is one of the things that you're most grateful for?
Just coming to that point of realization where I don't have to be unhappy and miserable. I control that. I'm grateful I was able to turn things around in my lowest point, seeing the way everything has unfolded because I never saw this for myself. I thought it was one of those things where I was destined to be unhappy. I'm happy and grateful that I've proved that wrong.
What is something that you would advise someone they can do today?
I would say sit with yourself for a second and let whatever wants to come up, and then work from there. I definitely say talk to yourself. If that means looking in the mirror and having a conversation, literally pretend like you're talking to another human being.
Mhm.
And that's when those voices, your inner child, is going to start coming up. You just have to create a safe space for it. That's what I would say you can start, or if it's confiding in another person, that's a good option for you. Just being open to it is the most powerful thing, is being open and ready to heal.
Yes. I have thoroughly enjoyed this interview. I am always amazed when I talk to someone how our lives are intertwined. I think there's so much healing that could happen if people were to understand we're not different
Right.
as we think we are, that a lot of us are the same. Your past doesn't matter because a lot of it, we can learn things from each other and they can be intertwined. So thank you
Mhm.
for your vulnerability today. Thank you
Yeah.
for your openness. Thank you for your ability to share. I'm grateful that you've entrusted me with this story. You are now and how you've grown.
I appreciate you giving me this space to share, because what my book is about is going into detail about all of these things, showing you those traumatic events and really just showing you how I was able to dig into that a little bit deeper. The couple things I want people to be able to take away from that is those things that you've experienced, like you were saying, we're all similar in very different ways. And those things that you think make you weird or crazy, you're not the only one that feels that way. We're all having different experiences, being able to normalize it. And
Right.
then, even for the people around you that want to support you, showing them what those things can look like and having a better understanding of this is why that's coming up. This is why she's reacting that way. Two sides of helping your support system and helping yourself.
The
Yeah.
last thing we're going to do is we're going to pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come into your presence, God. We thank you for the words that were spoken. We thank you for the healing that they are going to have. God, we thank you right now for Amanda's life. We thank you that you have seen fit to have her here. God, we thank you for the work that she has done within herself. And we thank you for her desire to be a healing agent for others. Heavenly Father, we ask and pray that this podcast is heard by the person who needs to hear it when they need to hear it the most, the person who desires change and does not know where to start, the person who wants to be healed and does not know where to start, God, for the person who is diagnosed themselves and they don't know where to start, God, and someone who is crumbling under the label that someone or the diagnosis that someone else has given them, God. Help them see that they are not their diagnosis. We thank you for the words. We thank you for the kindness. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy. And more than anything, God, we thank you for your hand of protection that stays on us even when we are living life in the wild, God, when we feel so far from you. We thank you for it now. In your darling son, Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.